This is Laura Eubanks of Design for Serenity with your succulent tip of the day. And it is the grand reveal in La Jolla in our little jewel box succulent tapestry installation. We are so incredibly delighted with how this turned out. I want to walk you through the process again because some people have been asking questions. So if you already know this, my apologies. But let's talk irrigation, shall we? People ask me, well, how do I modify my irrigation, or how do I make irrigation, or how should I irrigate? And it really depends on a lot of criteria. It depends on how you're currently watering, how efficient that system is going to be with the new plantings. It depends on your soil. It depends on where you live. There are variables. So I can speak to experience. Here coastally in La Jolla, this is the ideal climate for these plants. So we don't really need to concern ourselves too much with the irrigation. Our client had a lawn and some shrubs, so there was a lot of crossover pop-up spray. What Greg did is turned all the sprinklers on to see what kind of coverage we were going to get in the garden, and then he modified. We found that there were more pop-ups than we needed, so some of them got capped. He switched a few pop-ups to risers and basically just made some simple modifications. The idea with this is to turn the sprinklers on for about 3 minutes and then turn them off. Maybe once a week, once every couple of weeks in the cooler weather. So as long as we've got coverage, we're good in this garden. We don't need to worry about irrigating an acre or a half an acre, so we can keep it really simple. I like drip, I like spray. That each has its own benefits. So I encourage you to really evaluate your situation and then contact me if you have specific questions. All right, irrigation's dealt with. Now, this garden, remember how I always tell you that a garden is something that needs to be experienced from the inside out. I don't want our lovely client or her guests to feel like they have to stand at the edge and gaze over. I want them to come in, or at least feel invited to come in. So we took and applied flagstones all the way through the garden in a windy path, so the garden can be experienced from the inside out. It's also practical because it allows for ease of maintenance. You see how I have mounded the soil, how important that is. Remember, we brought 2 yards of soil into this garden to make our mounds. Then I staged my boulders. I have honey quartz boulders, and remember, we want to go in 1s, 3s, and 5s. We don't want even numbers, so there are 5 boulders in this installation. Once I got my boulders placed, then I went with my foundation plants. Those are the 5-gallon specimens. I did Petalanthus bracteus along this fence. I staged some beautiful tall aeoniums behind this rock. Now here's something interesting. We've got Euphorbia sticks on fire, and we have Senecio Dakari. Both of these plants can get as big as a house if left unchecked. So you're probably thinking, oh no, in such a small garden, what were you thinking? Well, remember, these are going to be beautiful for a couple of years. I only need to be here once a year, maybe twice. So when the time comes for these plants to be dealt with, I will deal with them. It's really that simple. So don't hesitate to plant things that can naturalize to be very large. As long as you understand that every year or 2 or 3, you might have to pull it out and hack it up and stick it back in the ground again, you're good to go. Of course, I have my golden barrel cactus. You know how I feel about those. I pulled in a piece of driftwood too in the centerpiece area. This is the area of the garden that can be seen from the inside of the house the most readily, and I wanted it to be very special. So in addition to the boulder, I have a beautiful piece of driftwood, my Aluaudia procera, my garden phallus. Remember what I always tell you, every good garden needs a phallus. Over here, we have the client's old little barbecue. And I asked her if we could turn this into a planter, and she obliged us. So I put some really tough little plants in there, just for a little whimsy. Always remember whimsy in the garden, right? We have a potted Meyer lemon tree, which our client is going to water by hand. I suggested a watering can, which I believe is a gallon or 2 of water once a week. This is going to drain very efficiently, so I'm not too concerned about her overwatering. And then she'll fertilize it with a generic fertilizer following the package directions. More Petalanthus here for height against that fence. Another grouping of beautiful succulent plants. Then our rock top dressings. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 types of rock, not including the boulders. I have 3/4 inch burgundy lava, 3/4 inch black. I've got some 1/2 inch river rock. I've got the white creva and also the fire glass to add a little bit of bling. Remember, we'll be using Wet Look 2000 to seal this creva and the fire glass in place so it doesn't move around. This has been Laura Eubanks at Design for Serenity, reporting in La Jolla with the grand reveal and your